Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fiercely Spiritual Podcast. I'm Sandra Ray, and I am delighted to have you here today. Today, we are talking about a topic that I love, and it is something that I love it, but I also have a love-hate relationship with it, and it's the topic of the law of attraction. So, we're going to get into that, but first, I want to tell you about just a few minutes ago, I started recording this podcast, and as I was recording, the connection was lost and it stopped recording. So I pressed record again and kept going, and it stopped recording again. So I was just laughing because when you talk about the law of attraction, it puts you to the test. So what we're going to do is to attract a smooth and flowing episode, and I'm trusting that this episode will play out in full. So what I wanted to talk about is the problem with the law of attraction. And there's not a problem with the law of attraction necessarily. The law of attraction works perfectly every time. The problem is our perception of the law of attraction. So I think the main thing that throws us off is the word attraction. Because when we think of attraction, we think of stuff out there that we need to attract to us. And that's not really the case. When we think that things are outside of us and that we need to draw them to us, that we need to attract them, that to pull them into us, then we're already starting off on the wrong foot, because that's not actually how the law of attraction works. So I'm going to explain to you how it does work and how to get around that thinking of that everything is outside of you and you have to attract it to you. So first of all, I wanted to explain it using what I call my whirlwind theory. So this theory is that all your desires are circling around you. Everything that you want is already circling around you like a whirlwind. They're just spinning and spinning and spinning, and they're waiting just to drop down into your material world. If you think about, have you ever seen those machines? It's like a game where you get into this like phone booth type box, and it blows wind up and they throw money into the box, and the money is just fluttering around everywhere, and the person is standing in the middle of that box and the money is flying all about them, and their job is to grab as much as possible. And all they have to do is reach out and grab what's fluttering past. But of course, they don't get to grab all of it because some of it escapes them in the time that they have. But it's the point is that it's all there for them. Everything is in that box with them. It's flying and circling all about them, and they just have to reach out and take it. So for me, that's how the law of attraction works. When I say reach out and take it, the way to do that is the difficult part. So I'm going to explain a little bit further using the radio analogy. I've used this before, and I love this, I suppose, analogy because it paints a picture. So when you turn on the radio, you don't talk about attracting the station that you're tuning into. You talk about tuning into it. And when you want to switch to a different station, you tune to the frequency of the next station. So this is really important. And this is where I think we fall down. Because if we said, well, I have to attract the frequency of the station I want to listen to, that sounds really difficult. It's like, how do you even begin to attract that frequency? Sometimes you don't even know what frequency that station is on. So when you talk about tuning to it, you simply press a button or move a dial until the frequency comes up and it's attuned to the station. So it's very different, attracting it and tuning into it. I want you to get your head around the difference between the two. One seems a little bit out there and a little bit kind of, well, how do I even do that? And the other seems more logical to me, and it seems more attainable. So when you think about the law of attraction, I want you to stop thinking about attracting things and start thinking about attuning to the things that you desire. So the things you desire are already there for you. They're swirling all about you. Your job is to attune to them so that they can drop into your existence. So the law of resonance is a really good way to describe this. The law of resonance is when you get into vibrational alignment or resonance with the thing that you desire. And I think that's really the precursor to the law of attraction. The law of resonance is all about getting into that state of attunement. And then suddenly the law of attraction kicks in because you're attuned to that frequency. The thing you desire just drops into your reality. It's like the radio station. You tune into it, and the station is there. It suddenly becomes available to the listener because they've tuned into it. The same thing with your desires. You tune into the frequency, and suddenly they're there because it's become available to you. You're on that frequency. So think about the law of resonance rather than the law of attraction, particularly if you have a hard time with the concept of attracting things. And really, that's not necessary anyway, because all of your desires are already there. So think about your desires as being those invisible radio waves that they're always there. The radio waves are always in the air. They're always around us. It's just tuning to them. And if you didn't have a radio, if you didn't have that device to tune into that frequency, you wouldn't be able to hear that radio station. And think of your body as the device. Think of your body like that radio. You're the device, and you're using your body to tune into what you desire. So I'm going to talk about this more in a minute. But when you get your head around this changes everything. So if you think about it, going on those radio waves, it's like even your mobile phone. When you are in an area where the frequency is strong or the coverage is strong, we can easily make phone calls, we can talk on the phone, we can, do various other things. But if, say, you went to an underground car park or you went for a walk up the mountains where the frequency wasn't so strong, then suddenly you can't use your device. You can't use that phone the way it's meant to be used because you're outside of the frequency range. You're outside of the coverage. So that's really exactly what is happening. When we are not in vibrational alignment, it's like being out of coverage. It's like we can't tune into that frequency because we're just totally out of coverage. We're so far from it that we need to get back into coverage. So, okay, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I'm going to get back on track. So what I want to point out is that all of your desires are there. They're circling around you. And you may think, well, no, they're not circling around me. Definitely that guy who I want to attract into my life is definitely not circling around me. And that would be quite weird anyway. But it may be that the physical presence of that person isn't circling around you, but the energy of what it represents is. So if it's not a physical object that you want to attract, if it's a relationship, or if it's greater happiness, or whatever it is that you want to attract, that energy is circling around you already. So the energy of a loving relationship is circling around you. And that frequency of that person may be circling around you as well. I remember when before I met my husband, I went traveling to Australia, and I had set an intention to meet the person who was right for me before I went to Australia. And I was over there with friends and we had a great time. And we stayed in a little hostel over there. And it was some place that I just booked online, someplace random that I found. And when I got back, and a while later I did meet my husband, and we were talking about how he had been traveling and he had been in Australia. And we figured out that when he was over there, I was over there at the same time, but he had actually stayed in the very same hostel that I had booked and stayed in, but about 2 or 3 weeks ahead of me. He'd moved on to someplace else. So it was like the frequency that he was sending out, it was like I was almost zoning in and being attracted to that. I traveled to the other side of the world. I stayed in the same place that he had stayed in only 2 or 3 weeks before that. It's like that frequency, it could be even like the opposite of attracting. It was like I was being drawn to it. It was like pulling me in. It was like this magnetic frequency. And it's really that's how strong it can be, that you may find that you are being drawn to the thing rather than having to attract something to you. When you get into vibrational alignment, it's like you're drawn to that thing. It's like it's pulling you. It's like that magnet where the magnets pulled, or they pull together, and it has to come together. They have to come together. And it's the same with your desires. If you are in alignment, then it has to come. And the whole concept of attracting doesn't even come into play then, because you're in such vibrational alignment that it has to happen. So that's what I want you to tune into. What is the energy that your desire represents? Because when you tune into that, then all you have to do is be in that energy. So if you want to attract a relationship, the energy is of love or romance, or of connection or happiness, or all of the above. So what you need to do is to tune into that energy of love and connection and happiness and attraction and all of those things that you want to feel when you're in the relationship. And you have to tune into those feelings, and those things have to be your predominant state of being, more so than the energy of loneliness, the energy of lack, the energy of disconnect, all the things that you probably would be aligning with otherwise. So for the most part, if you are not in a relationship and you want to be, probably you're aligning with that energy of lack, you're aligning with that energy of loneliness, or you're aligning with that energy of disconnect, or feeling not worthy, or any number of things. And you're probably doing that more so than aligning with the energy of connection and happiness and love and romance. So if that's the case, then it's simply shifting your energy to align with what you want. And it could be anything. If you want to attract, I don't know, a new computer into your life, what does that energy represent to you? How do you want to feel when you have that thing? So if you can tune into the feeling state and then decide, okay, well, this is going to represent feelings of abundance, or feelings of connection through using the internet, or feelings of creativity through using the computer to create, or whatever else it was. I know before I bought my computer, I was using my iPad for a lot of my writing. And I was writing a book at the time, and I really wanted a computer where I could have a keyboard to type out stuff on and make it a lot easier for me to write, and just make the whole process a bit more streamlined. So I was tuning into how it would feel when I would sit down and write my book, and what that energy would feel like. And it felt like ease, it felt like joy, it felt like abundance, it felt like deservingness. So that was what I had to tune into. And then the computer arrived. So you tune into the feeling states of what you want, and then you tune into those more so than the lack states or the fear states. And then the thing you want has to come to you, because you are in vibrational resonance with it. It is drawn to you. You don't need to do anything else. It's circling around you, and it just draws into your physical reality. Now, the other thing is that sometimes when we think, okay, well, I have to feel this way of being loving or being happy or being joyful all the time, and then we get into false states of being falsely happy when actually we're feeling terrible, or we feel like crying. So this isn't about denying your emotions, which is really important. You still have to feel your emotions. You still have to feel everything that comes up. But your predominant state has to be the state that you want. So if you are feeling sad, or if you're feeling angry, or if you're feeling lonely, allow yourself to feel it. Sit down and explore it, go into it, actively ask it what it needs, invite it to come up and talk to it. And then afterwards, let it go. Give it what it needs. If there's loneliness there, give it the comfort and support it needs. Maybe meet with a friend for a coffee, or maybe do something that nourishes you. Maybe go and get a massage. Do whatever that feeling needs to feel supported, and then get into that vibrational alignment. So don't deny your feelings. Don't try and be in a positive state 100% of the time, because that's not what this is about, and that's not possible, and it's not healthy. We need to feel our emotions. So don't get caught in that trap, because what will happen is if you try and stay positive, you're not being authentic, you're disconnecting from your feelings. And that is definitely not the way to get into vibrational alignment. You need to connect with your feelings. You need to honor your feelings. And when you do that, you'll actually find that the loneliness, or whatever it is that's coming up, the sadness, the anger, actually disappears quicker because you've acknowledged it, and it doesn't need to keep shouting at you for attention. So I hope this really helped you. If you find that this is working for you, or if you have any examples of how this has worked for you, I'd love to hear from you. I always love to hear your feedback. And you can get in touch with me on Instagram, send me a direct message, or you can email me or get in touch on Facebook. So we will see each other again in the next episode, and thank you so much for watching and listening, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.